Masechta Shvuos Daf Chof Hey Amid Beis. We're starting from 5 lines from the bottom with Rabbi Omar. Today's Daf Chavov, but we're going to start from Rabbi Omar. Rabbi is going to explain why we're not going to be chayiv by one who swears Shvuos Eidos that he's not going to be chayiv mishum bitui also. So Rabbi Omar says the Gemara. Rabbi explains why aren't you going to be chayiv when he does Shvuos of a okay, he says he says to he makes a shvua. He says to his friend that he that I don't. He makes a shvua. He doesn't know any edus about this person, and then we find out that he does know edus. So that's called shvuos ha'edus. And the bitui it's also called shvuos. It's included. Shvuos Eidos is included in shvuos bitui, so you should be chayiv for both. So Abaye said we learn out from La'achas to tell you that no, we're only going to be mechayiv for one, for Eidos and not for bitui. You can't be mechayiv for two, bitui and Eidos. It's included, but since this was Eidos, we can only be mechayiv one. Rabbi says no, such a case is a whole different gather. Rabbi says because this Shvuos Ha'edus was included with Shvuos Bitui, and then the Torah singled out Shvuos Ha'edus, right?
Isn't it totally different than Shvuos Ha'edus?
How is it totally different? The same Shvuos. It says I don't. Bitui means he levata b'svasayim. So we said, according what did Abaye say, that by a shvuos bitui you have to have sai the hein and sai the lav. So if he would say shvuos that I don't know any edus, I'm sorry, and we that I do know edus, let's take the positive. That's shvuos bitui because not, and we find out he didn't know the edus. That's called shvuos bitui. The reverse falls into a category of Shvuos Eidos, but it's really included with Shvuos Bitui. The reverse is he says, I don't know Eidos, and he does. But there we say there's two qualifications. Rava says it became a whole new gather. The reason why the Torah said Shvuos Eidos and separated it from Shvuos Bitui to tell you a chidush. By Shvuos Eidos, you have to be a person who's kosher, like this, and he has to make the Shvuah and Bezdin. So it's a whole different animal. It's a whole different gather. It was a davashayim. It was something in the cloud, and it came out of bitui, and it came out to tell you a new din, a new gather. Davar chadash. What's the davar chadash? That there has to be a person who's kosher, and it has to be in bezdin. So in such a case, he says that we can only learn out. It's for Shvuos Eidos. And therefore, it's not bitui. It's not included in bitui. It's a whole different gather. So Shvuos Eidos, and Rashi says the chilik between Rabbi and Abai will be. Let's say it was a guy who was Pasal Eidos, and it wasn't in Bezdin. According to Rabbi, this is still the gather of Shvuos Eidos, because Shvuos Eidos means that he says he doesn't know Eidos. And really, he does know Eidos. Normally, if he would be kosher a person, he would have to swear in Bezdin. So now that he's not kosher and it's outside of Bezdin, he still falls under the category of Shvuos Eidos. It's not Shvuos Bitui, and therefore you can't be mechayiv shtayim. It has nothing to do with Shvuos Bitui.
He's not mechayiv at all.
He's chayiv if he was not kosher and it was outside of Bezdin, he wouldn't be chayiv at all. According to Abaye, he would be chayiv. It's not Shvuos Bitui. It's included. The only reason why he's chayiv one.
So he would be chayiv two.
No, only one. Abaye says you cannot be chayiv two, and right now the only reason why here, if he was not kosher, according to Abaye, he was not kosher, and he didn't do it in Bezdin, he would be chayiv according to Abaye, not according to Rava says he wouldn't be chayiv. He's missing the qualifications of Shvuos Eidos, but it's still what you need in Shvuos Eidos. It's still Shvuos Eidos. According to Abaye says no more Shvuos Eidos. If he's puzzled, La'edis, or he does it outside of Bezdin, it falls under the category of Bitui, and he's Chai, Mishum Shviz Bitui, one. So it says the Gemara Mikla. We just said, according to Rava, it's a whole different gather. What is the gather? Shvus Haidus. Shvus Haidus has its own chidush. That it has to be a kosher Haidus, has to be in Bezdin. It's a whole different category. Miklal, the Abaya, but from them is Gedrungim. From this you can infer that according to Abaya, if he was Pasal Haidus or it was outside of Bezdin, right? Then it would fall under Shvus Bitui. And he would be chayiv only because Shvus Bitui. The only reason it would be Shvus if he was kosher Haidus and he would swear in Bezdin, then he wouldn't be chayiv Mishum Shvus Bitui because he can't be mechayim for two. You would be only mechayim Shvus Haidus. But Abaya. But if he's not kosher Haidus, then it's put back to Shvus Bitui, and he should be he's chayiv Mishum Shvus Bitui. Can't get out of it. According to Abaya, there's no way out. But now here's the Gemara. How could you say that? Well, Abaya says, Rav is made. If one who says to his friend, Ashwur, he doesn't know Eidus. The lo yadalei. I'm sorry, Ashwur, he says he knows Eidus. He swears that he does know Eidus. And we find that he doesn't know. We said the Pata. Why? Because this is only in Hain. Shvuas Bitra has to be in love. Since you can't use the love by saying, I don't know Eidus, and then we find that he knows Eidus, that's a case of Shvuas Eidus. But Zakasha, but we said if he's Pasal Eidus, or was outside of Bezdin, you could find in love. If he was a Pasal Eidus, you can find both sides now. If he was Pasal Eidus, so you can work Sai Shvur Shani Yoidei, and we find that he doesn't. That's one Shvur Bitui. And the reverse is also going to be Shvur Bitui. How? He could say Shvur She'eni Yoidei L'Chaydis, and he was Pasal Eidus, and we find out that he's Kosher Eidus. So it works both ways. So why did the Abaya say before? Oh, Shvur, if he says he knows Eidus, and we find that he doesn't, he's going to be potter. There's no kabim because it doesn't work in the lav. It could work in the lav if he was pasal eidus. If he was pasal eidus, he could have said the lav. Ashua she'eni yedeya. I don't know eidus, and then they find that he knows eidus, but he's pasal eidus. It would work. He would be chayv for his bitui. So it works in the Haim Alav. Why did Abaya say? Abaya said if he says Shvuah Shani Yedei L'Chaydus, he's part of because it doesn't work in the Alav. It does.
But they're two different things.
No.
One is Shvuah and one is Shvuah Bitui.
It's not Shvuah this according to Abaya. Only according to Rava. According to Rava, this is not a Shaila. According to Rava, even when he's Pasal Eidus, it's still a separate category of Shvuah Eidus. But according to Abaya, it's part of Shvuah Bitui. He didn't make it into a second category. It's just La'achas teaches us if it's a kosher eid, so it's also mitzat shvuas eidus, we can't be mechayvim for both. But if it's a pasal eidus, you can work both ways. So it's a kasha. Why did Abaya say by shvuas shani yedei l'chaydus it should be? Why did he paskin that he should be part because it doesn't work in the lav? It does work in the lav if he's pasal eidus. After the Gemara had to be Abaya mahi. The Gemara says Abayit had charat, and he says he will be chayiv by a case where he says Ashua, I know Eidus, and then we find out he didn't. He will be chayiv because it works also in the lav. If he was pasul and he says Shua, I don't know Eidus, because it's also bitui, right? And another answer is Kadminai Rapapa Amra. One of these didn't was Rapapa, he says. Meaning, why is Tosis says, what's we come down Rapapa? He says because the Rosh Hashiva after Abaye came Rapapa. It's right after him. So people make a mistake. Oh, Rapapa said it. Abaye said it. And they would say, and really it was Rapapa. So one, you could choose either one. Either one. One says that he's going to be, it could be the one that says that he's going to be Potter was Rapapa. And Abaye said he's going to be Chayv or the reverse. But it's not a slida on Abaye. One was said by Rapapa, one was said by Abaye. We learned in the Mishnah. Now it's going to be just a repetition of what we said in the Mishnah. It's going to go very easy. Rabbi Shmuel says by a shvuah bitui, it can only be a shvuah for the future. Shvuah shloi eichel or she'oichel. Only in the future, not she'achalti shelo yachalti. Doesn't work on the past. From where do we learn that? So it says in the Torah by Kav Me'el B'Yered, the pasuk says lehara or leheita. That means for the ein li'ela the bottom sheish b'am hara v'hatava. So we learn out from lehara v'leheita. It's for the future, and we also should learn out that only if it's something that's bad for the person or something that's beneficial, that's good for the person. She'ein ba hara v'hatava b'nayin. How do we know that if it's a neder it's not bad and it's not good for him? L'mashal, if he says I'm going to throw a pebble into the yam, into the sea, there's no benefit for him and it's not bad for him. Menayim, how do we know if he makes such a shua he's still chayiv a carbon? Tamad comes the pasuk and says, "Oy nefesh ki sishava levat b'smasayim." That means any movement of the lip that you made a shua, you're going to be chayiv for.
Like
So,
utterance, Rabbi?
any utterance, right? So we only know for the future. But for the past, let's say he makes a shua. I ate in the past, or I didn't eat, or I thrown the pebble and I didn't throw. He makes a shua. Menayin, how do you know he's going to be chayv hakam? L'chayil means to anything that a person's lips will utter, he's going to be chayv. So Rabbi Akiva, those are the words from Rabbi Akiva. So he knows side for the avar because it's nefesh kisishav levat b'sayin, and the chayil tells you even for a neutral thing that's even if it's not for bad for you or good for you, even if it's something neutral, it's still chayiv. Rabbi Yishmael Leima lahara lahetiv lahaba. From lahara lahetiv we learn the only type of a shua a person can be chayiv if it's only on the future, not on the past. Rabbi Akiva says, according to your words, if you're following the letter of the word, tells you only the future, it means for the bad or for the good for you. So how do you know? And we know Rabbi Shmuel is made there if it has nothing to do with bad or good for you. If he makes a shua, I'm going to throw a pebble in the yam, he's also going to be chayiv if he was able on the shua. He asked Rabbi Akiva, asked Rabbi Yishmael, how do you know a shvur that's not Hara v'Hatova? Amalais, Rabbi Yishmael answered, Meribi HaKosov, we will learn out from the extra word L'chel. So L'chel, so he says, Amalais, Rabbi Akiva says to Rabbi Yishmael, if you're able to take a limud from L'chel, to take it out from the Pashto Pshat, from the Verta, of L'hara L'hitiv, it doesn't have to be L'hara L'hitiv, it can be even neutral. So Meribi HaKosov L'kach. So then the Torah should be mabit for you also, that it could be a shvua ne'ava also. So it's like the Gemara, Shabbat coming later, Rabbi Yishmael. Rabbi Akiva, good gives up. He said, well, to Rabbi Yishmael, what does Rabbi Yishmael have to say for himself? The Gemara, Rabbi Yishmael, Sheshimish, there's Rabbi Nechunya ben Hakana. Rabbi Yishmael served Rabbi Nechunya ben Hakana. So Yadayah says, Kol HaTorah. He was a Talmud of Rabbi Nechunya ben Hakana. No, served him. Yeah. So Yadayah says, Kol HaTorah kolu b'klal prat. Every time he saw a klal prat, he learned it as a klal prat. Not and Iyunami, that is klal prat. We'll soon see what it means here. He also does all over in the Torah. He only whenever there's a klal prat, he doesn't do ribui miyut. He does klal prat to klal. Rabbi Akiva, Sheshim says Nachmish Gamsu. Rabbi Akiva, who served Nachmish Gamsu, you know they both had a saying. Nachmish is Gamsu hat gesagt Gamsu lateva. Rabbi Akiva hat gesagt Kol ma'adav HaKadosh Baruch Hu letava of them. So and the Rabbi says a sicha, which one is greater? Of course, Gamsu lateva. Why? Because Gamsu lateva means that he transformed the sand into diamonds. You remember he took the sand and turned it into arrows. Mashain came Rabbi Akiva. He says, the light, the candle went out, and the horse died. So he says, "Kol ma'adav HaKadosh Baruch Hu." It didn't transform into good, but whatever the Yibishter does is for the good. So the hecher level was noch nicht gamzu. And genommen der Zam from the Zam is given.
That was greater than the Talmud.
Yeah. Anyway, so he says, Rabbi Akiva who served noch nicht ganz. Says Kol HaTorah b'kula. He would dash the whole Torah beribu umiyot. That's how noch nicht gamzu would do it. So you nami der shtibu umiyot. So Rabbi Akiva also dash ribu umiyot. Now, the Gemara says like this. What was the Piddush of Rabbi Akiva, which he dashed in Ribuyim Miyutim? So he says the time, he learned in the Braisa, we're talking about Shvuah, B'negei to Kav Me'el B'Yered. Oy nefesh kisi shava. A soul that will make a Shvuah. Ribo, that's a Ribuy. It means any type of a Shvuah. Lahara laheta miyat. Now you're limiting. You're saying only if it's for lahara or laheta. Then he says lechayil asher yavata adam chazav riba nacharibui riba umiyut veribu. If you have a riba, a miyut, and a riba hakal, then we include everything. The miyut is only going to be one thing, and the miyut is going to be the furthest thing away. Yes, and when it's riba miyut veribu, you only mimayit one thing, the one that's furthest away. Which one is that going to be? My riba. First of all, what is the riba komi? All kinds of shurs. My miyut, the miyut is miyut va that he swears to do. He says, I'm not going to eat in the sukkah. I'm not going to be kind of mitzvah. That he's not going to be chayiv. So you see, he's chayiv on all shvurs for riba miyut v'riba. Side shvur that doesn't have rav v'teva, meaning something neutral, like I'll throw a pebble in the yam. Whether it's a shvur l'shava, is also he's going to be chayiv for. Rabbi Shmuel dashens it differently. Kol uprat. Oy nefesh kisishava liavatis vasayim. If a soul will swear to utter with his lips, kol, that's a kol. Lahara lehetiv, that's a prat. Lechel asher yivata adam chazav klol. Klal uprat klal yatadan elokeina prat. When you have a klal uprat klal, then you go only whatever is similar to the prat. You see, by ribo miyut, if it would only be ribo miyut, you would only say ke'en miyut. Ribo miyut v'riba, then everything is included except one exclusion. Here, by klal uprat, right? Klal uprat yatadan only elokeina prat. I'm sorry, elocham elamasha befrat. Then you can only follow the prat itself, but which is only lahaba. But when you have kalu prat uklal after it, then anything similar to the prat. So maha prat meferish lahaba, just like the prat is dafke for the future. So too, everything is for the shvua. The shav is not going to be chayv, only if it's a shvua la'asid. A hani klala, the last klal came lahasiya afilu dvarim shein ba. So what did the last cloud come to include? Even something that's not bad for him or not good for him, something neutral, like I'll throw a pebble into the ocean.
So that's Rabbi Shmuel saying.
That's Rabbi Shmuel. That's what he's maba, only if it doesn't have a something neutral. But lahaba, it has to be lahaba. Only if he does that neutral shvur lahaba. Then I'm going to throw. The honey prat, and what does the prat help? Lohara ilahitiv. It's coming to exclude that if he made a shvur, even though he's saying something that's bad for him or something that was good for him, but he did it shvur in the past, so that prat, the prat is going to tell him that he's going to be potter, even though he included ra teva. What makes you say that the prat is excluding l'shava? Maybe the prat is excluding that the Ron Teva. How do you know the prat is telling you that you could? The prat is coming to tell you, maybe it's coming to tell you l'shava is good. So
what does he do with the last cloud that he said? The last cloud came to teach me the
let us say the last cloud comes to teach us l'shava is good, and the prat is excluding. That if you and the prat keina prat has to be rav teva, but l'shava is good. Rabbi Yitzchak says dumya lahara lahitav. It has to be dumya b'dem l'shul shel lahara lahitav. Mi sheyisude mishum bal yachad devarei. What does the Torah say? What's the real isaf in shvua? That you shouldn't desecrate your words. You give your word, stick to your word. And what's the lashon yachal? The future, yachal, the future, the shvur that you can say in the future. You shouldn't be make it chol. He's excluding a case that doesn't fall into yachel, something that's in the past, and something that's in the past. You're right away lying. That's already a from sheker. Because when you said, you're talking about the past, and you ate, you right away lied. Something in the future, you're saying, you're giving a word, Lo yachal dvarei. So I mean, you give your word, and then after you give your word, you're over. But that's called being mat to the. That's being chal the neder, making the neder chal. But if you're talking about the past, you're not talking about making your words chal. You're lying the second you said it. You said you didn't eat, and really you ate. That's a sheker. It falls under the category of shvur sheker, and that's why we can't exclude. We can include l'shava because l'shava is not under bal yachal dvari. Rabbi Yitzchak Rabavin says, Amakar, it says in the pasuk, Oy nefesh kisi shava levate svasayim. Mi shashvua kodemes labitu. He says, what does it say first? Kisi shava, he'll swear, and then it says that he'll do levate b'svasayim. He'll say something and he'll do the opposite. So first comes the shvua. Yeah, but he's saying levate b'svasayim means, and he's going to do later after the shvua a ma'aser fakir. So you see, the shvua has to come first, and then comes the ma'aser. Not that you have first you did already a ma'aser, which is wrong, and that comes before the shvua.
I'm going to eat. I swear.
No, that's still the shvua is coming. I hear you. You see, he first says the shvua, I'm going to eat, and then he doesn't eat. That's what it means. Shvua before the ma'aser. When he says a shvua in the past, I ate or I didn't eat. There, the ma'aser is coming before the shvua. That's why he doesn't count it.
The shvua is not something that happened.
That's the first shot. That's a shvua sheker. Here he's saying, it says in the pasuk oy nefesh ki si shava first, and then he was over the ma'aser after. So that can only happen in the future. I make a shvua, I'm not going to eat, and then I eat. So first the shvua came, and then I was over. But on the past, if I said lo yachalti, so it's a ma'aser that was done already, right? And so the shvua, there was already a ma'aser, and you're making a shvua on a ma'aser that happened before the shvua. That doesn't follow the words of the pasuk.
So
Therefore, you cannot be including ovar. The pasuk beferish is talking. That's how Rabbi Yishmael learns. It says except excluding onus, somebody who was an accident. Adam means Adam who's focused. What's the chiluk between Adam and a behema? A behema is not focused. He's not thinking. Adam is focused. He's thinking. But if he was honest, he's pater. V'nelam prat lemezit. V'nelam, it says in the pasuk. V'nelam. V'nelam means there was a halama, there was a shaking. But not if he did it. So the Torah is going to be mechayvim only if it was a shaking. So what does it say? V'nelam imenu. What does it mean? V'nelam imenu. Shenis alma mimenu shvua. What was nelam? What was concealed from him? What did he forget? The shvua. I would have thought, no, maybe the object was nelam from him, but the shvua he remembers, and that is chayva carbon
What do you mean he's nelam the shvua? He forgot that he swore.
He forgot that he swore. He swore he's not going to eat paschitin. And then he forgot about it, and he ate paschitin.
He forgot that he made a shvua.
He forgot he made a shvua. Says, how do you know it's referring to the concealment of the shvua that he's going to be chayv? Maybe it's referring to the chayfetz that he forgot about, but the shvua he didn't forget, and even in such a case he should be chayv. He forgot the chayfetz that he made the shvua on. He made a shvua. Yeah. Right. It says that in the pasuk it says the word shvua next to v'nelam. So since it says the shvua next to v'nelam, it's referring to what was the concealment on the shvua. That he forgot the shvua. Because in the pasuk it says b'shvua v'nelam. Yeah. Al helam shvua chayiv. Ve'ein chayiv al helam chayfetz. That he's going to be chayiv for the helam shvua, nicht from chayfetz. Not on the helam chayfetz. Amar, the Tana said, ha'adam b'shvua prat lanas, excluding an accident. Hey chidami. What's the case? They were both Talmidim of Rav. Rav Kana and Rav Asi. Rav Kamei Mekami the Rav. when they were standing before Rav at the end of learning, each one was arguing with Rav Kahana and Rav Asi, and each one swore that this is what Rav says, and the other one said, "Nein, forget." Rav said, they both swore. Okay. When they came before Rav, Rav said like only one of them. Let's say he said like Rav Kahana. So the Rav Asi, let's say what the other one says. He says to Rav, I swore falsely. Do I have to bring a carbon? Was I Oivash? Was Sheke? He asked him. He said I swore and it falsely. It didn't come out like he swore that Rav said. So Rav said to that Talmud, Libach ansach. He says your heart forced you, meaning you mamish thought that this is what I said. So that's already a onus. So it's onus. So he's not going to be chayiv. It says Adam b'shvua prat onus. Okay. It says the Gemara explains now the seif of the Brisa. It says v'nelam imenu shenesalam imenu shvua, that what was concealed from him in order to be that the shvua was concealed. Yachash shenesalam imenu chayfetz. I would have thought that no, he's chayiv even if he forgot about the chayfetz. Talmud Loima comes the pasuk and says b'shvua v'nelam imenu. B'shvua next to the word v'nelam. So it's the al helam shvua chayiv ein chayiv al helam chayfetz. That he's only going to be chayiv for the helam shvua, but not on helam chayfetz. Zok the Gemara, and Gemara, yes, they were laughing in the Eretz Yisrael, the people in Eretz Yisrael. The loy chayfetz. I understand the shvua. It's shaykh you forgot a shvua without the helam chayfetz. You're going to have a shvua shloi yachal paschitim. He made a shvua. He's not going to eat wheat bread, and then ukesava. And he betos b'shas he ate shachel in the time that he ate the paschitim kama the shvua say inshe that he forgot that he made the shvua of a cheftzadach here, but he remembers the paschitim. He knows he's eating chitim, but he forgot about the shvua. So that's shaykh.
He ate something.
He knows what he's holding is paschitim. He forgot about the shvua. So that you can find that a person forgets about the shvua, but he still knows what he's eating. How is a shaykh a chayfetz, a concealment of the chayfetz without the shvua? How's the case talking about? You're going to paschitim. He made a shvua. He's not going to eat wheat bread. Ukisaver, and while he betos b'shas achila, he thought he made a shvua that he's not going to eat paschal se'edin. He in his mind he thought he made the shvua on barley. So come the shvuah sadachle chatza inshi. He says in such a case, the shvuah of that he's not going to eat, he remembers. Just the chayfetz he forgot. He thought he made a shvuah on the seirim, and really he made on paschit. Says you want to keep in the chatza inshi, since he forgot the chayfetz on what he swore. I know helam shvuah. That's part of the shvuah. When he thought it was seirim, that's ruining the shvuah. If he remembers the shvuah, he has to remember the whole shvur, which is paschitim. How could you call it a helam of the chefza? That's what they were laughing. That's what it's the shvur part that he's missing. It's not just a helam. No, but you can't say he made a shvur. He's not going to eat chitin, and that's the shvur. He remembers the shvur. When it came to eating, he thought he made a shvur on paschitim. That's a default in the shvur, not in the chayfetz. Elo Amar Rabbi Elazar, Davida Achasi. Rabbi Elazar says you can't find one without the other. If it's a helam in the chayfetz, it's a helam in the shvur. Maskal Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef asked the kasha, why? Chayfetz b'lo yishvur, lo mashkachas lo. What mashkachas lo? He said chayfetz b'lo yishvur, you can't find. You can find. Keep going. The Amar shvur is lo yachal paschitim. He makes a shvur. He's not going to eat wheat bread. Hoishit yadol esal lit the paschitim. He stuck his hand in the basket and he takes out paschitim. Vols v'yadei shel chitin. And he thought in his hand is chitin. And it was really uksaver seidimi, and he thought what is in his hand is seidim, and it was really chitim. Shvoi, he knew exactly. I'm not eating bread that's wheat, and I know wheat bread I'm not allowed to eat. Then he put his hand in the basket and he took out chitim, thinking
that's what he wanted to take out. He wanted to take out seidim.
He wanted to take out seidim, but he took out chitim. So we say he thinks. He took out chitim by mistake. He thought he's taking out seidim, and he thought it's seidim. So seidim, and he ate it. So the shvua say dachle. He remembers mamish the shvua. He gave a shvua. I'm not eating wheat bread. But what's in his hand is a chefza in his hand. He didn't know that in his hand is chitin. He thought it's seinen. So that's concealed in the chefza. That's halam chefza. Says Gemara, Abaya, klum chayav to lay korban el hamayda tafes biyadei. Is that halam shvuho or lishna china? Amalei Abaya Abiyes the same thing. Save korban the kamaisa Allah the high pass me is halam shvuho. He says save. It's still called a halam shvuah because when you're making a shvuah, you're making a shvuah on what entered your hand. So when he made the shvuah, he says, "I'm not going to eat pas chitin and what's in his hand." So he thinks it's Eirin, so that's a fault in the shvuah because he's making a shvuah.
How does he remedy that?
Huh?
How do you remedy that?
You can't. He says it works. One without the other. It's not shaykh. He says you can't be here. Look, klumat mechayve korban el mishum oise pasha tofes biyadav. Right, that pas that he has in his hand that he took out from the basket
is the chitin, right?
And it was chitin, and he made a shvuah. He's not going to eat pas chitin.
But
So
he wanted to take outside it.
It says he made a shvuah on what he can only make a shvuah what's on his hand. So and then in his mind it flipped. He thought it's seinen,
Right.
but still he made a shvuah on what's in his hand. So that's a problem in the shvuah because he should have known he's making a shvuah on what is in his hand, which is chitin. Now that he's thinking, his mind's going a little warped, thinking that it's seinen, that's a problem in the shvuah.
But then he went and ate it.
Yeah, so he's on the shvuah.
So what's the remedy?
But it's not a helam. It's not a helam chayfetz. It's a helam in the shvuah.
So how do you remedy that?
It's not a shaila remedy. He says it doesn't work. You can't have just helam shvuah without helam chayfetz. I'm sorry, helam chayfetz without helam shvuah. You can't have a concealment on the thing that he's eating, and it shouldn't be a defect in the shvuah. It has to be a defect in the shvuah as well. Rav Yosef argues. He says, given the chiyada lay the chitin who punishment. Since if he would have known that the pas in his hand, his mind would have been clear that it's chitin, helam chayfetz. That in itself makes it helam chayfetz. He wouldn't need it. If he would have been clear that what's in his hand is the pas of chitin, he would have not eaten it.
But he thought it was
So,
seinen.
he thought it was seinen, so that's
why
why
he
it's
wanted
called.
to take-
So Rabbi Yosef says that's called helam chayfetz. That's why he calls it helam chayfetz.
Therefore, what's
So you have a case that there will be helam shvuah, a helam chayfetz without helam shvuah, and in such a case, the shvuah is not chal, meaning the shvuah is not chal. Correct. It's only when there's a helam shvuah. Okay. So Rabbi asked the shayla from Rav Nachman. Helam zeb yodei ma'u. What's if the halama was on both? He forgot that he made a shvuah, and he forgot what the chayfetz is. Amalei says Rav Nachman Rava Harei b'saf saf helam shvuah b'yodei b'chayiv. It's a helam shvuah. You have a mixture of helam shvuah. So if there's a mixture of helam shvuah, we say on helam shvuah you chayiv a korban. Says you want to adarabba. Harei b'saf saf there's helam chayfetz b'yodei, and on helam chayfetz b'yodei he's part of a korban. Amar Ravashi Chazina, we could look. Why is he separating? Let's say you tell him, you know you're holding on to pas chitin. He drops it and he reminds himself he made a shvuah. So, I'm sorry, he knew about the shvuah, it's just he didn't know about the chefza. So that's a helam. Oh, I want to say the opposite. He says, no, he knew about the shvuah, bachal shvuah kaparish. So he's a helam shvuah b'yadei. So it was a helam shvuah, and he's chayiv. He tells him,
he forgot that he made a
he forgot him, he made the shvuah. That reminds the pas chitim. He separated because of the shvuah. They told him, you know, you have pas chitin, so he reminded himself that he made a shvuah. So what was the halama on the shvuah? So then he's chayiv. So you you ask him, you tell him, hey, you have pas chitin, and then he looks, oh, I'm not allowed to eat it. So he forgot about the shvuah. That's called halom shvuah. What's if they tell him, what are you doing? And he looks, oh, it's Pasach I made it, I'm not allowed to eat it. He forgot about this chayfetz. He's going to be potter. He says, you can't know that. Let's say you tell him, oh, look what you're holding on to. The pas, right? So maybe he reminded him about the pas also, that it's pas chitim. So he didn't know not about the pas chitim, not about the shvur, and the same thing the other way. When he told me you're holding on to you, or you made a shvur, he says, and so maybe he reminded him that you made a shvur, and that's why you separated from the chayfetz. You can't prove either way. What's a shvuas bitui of that he makes a shvuas bitui l'shovar? How is it possible that a person should be chayv a carbon on the shvua l'shovar, on shvuas bitui l'shovar? That he swore on the ova, which, like Rabbi Akiva said in the Mishnah, says you want to eat the yada. If he knew b'shas shvua that he said lo yachalti, and he knew that he ate. He can't bring a cup, and he's a mazid. He says lo yachalti, and when he made that shvua lo yachalti, he knew that he ate. He's a mazid. So how could you say he's chayv a cup lo yedit? And if it's talking about he didn't know b'shas shvua that he was that he ate, then anasul. Then he's not a shoygig. He's honest. He really thought he didn't eat, and then he realized he ate. So he's honest. So he shouldn't bring a carbon either way. Amalei Rav Nachman said back, but he says I befeirish know that this shvur is asa. He says I knew I lied, but I didn't know for this lie I'm chayv a carbon. He thought it's zero. I'll get away with it, whatever. Says the Gemara Kiman, like who? Says the Gemara Kimumbas. The Mumba says she gets kavish mashgoga. If somebody doesn't have Veda, amazing, but he doesn't know what the punishment is. He didn't know it's a carbon. He's an angiruf nashegig. He's called a shegig, and he has to bring a carbon. Even though he did it amazing, according to Rabbanan, not. Says the Gemara, so that only goes according to Mumbas. Says the Gemara, no, I feel Rabbanan. You could even say he follows according to Rabbanan. Rabbi Akiva was saying even according to Rabbanan. How? Ad kan like Rabbanan alei the Mumbas. When did the Rabbanan argue that if he doesn't know the punishment or the carbon, it's considered as a shoyeg? By all the cases of the cholatera, because in cholatera kula, anything that you chayiv b'mezit kares, b'shoyeg you chayiv achatas. No lav chidushu, so there's no chidush. So there, it's not going to be considered as a shoyeg. Aval hacha by kab meidel v'yayda the chidushu, that it's a chidush. The cholatera kula lo yashkachan lav the ma'aseh carbon. Here b'mezit you're not chayiv kares. You're even a lav malchus, but you're not chayiv kares. And nevertheless, we still say he brings a carbon meidel v'yayda. So that's a chidush. The Yalfin Ma'avid Zara. We learn now from Ma'avid Zara only when do you bring a chatas? Only if bezid you chayiv kodes. That's what we learn out from Ma'avid Zara. The Hochamaisi, but here by Shvuas Bitzui, we're telling you even on a lav she'ein by kodes, you're going to still bring a carbon. So I feel Rabbanan made that in such a case. Even the Rabbanan say that if he didn't know that there's a carbon, he's not going to be potter. Sagt die Gemara, sagt the Gemara that over here, so that's it. So we brought down, even the Rabbanan would be made that he wouldn't have to bring a cup. If a person made a shvur that he's not going to eat a loaf of bread, and after a while he's mamish and sakana, he has to eat it. Mo, what's the din? So it says, he says, if he won't eat it, he's swore he's not going to eat it. Now he falls into sakana. What happens? So the Gemara mistaken. Let the Tana be matin to eat it even lechatchila, because pikuch nefesh is deichol the sunnah of the Torah. So Ravina explains, no, the Shiloh was element style. He made a sure he's not going to eat, and now that he's not eating, he's in tremendous pain. And he forgot that he made a shvur because he's so in pain and he has to eat. And he forgot he made a shvur he's not going to eat, and he ate. What's the din? Does he have to bring a carbon or not? Amalei, so Rava said back to Avinu Tanina, we learned Hashob miyidiyase, somebody who did Aveda b'shoigeg, meaning if he would have known that he would be doing an Aveda by eating it, he wouldn't eat it. So then maybe Karma Shigigase. Then he brings a Karma up for being a Shoigig. But if Loishav miyidiyase, if we know it's such a person that when he's inside, and even though he knew he made a shvua, he would still eat it, ain't maybe Karma Shigigase. Then he wouldn't bring a Karma Shoigig. Amashmul. Okay, so that's the
So
psak.
he gets a dispensation.
He does no, so and then he's considered as a mazid, and he doesn't. He's not chayiv a carbon. Amashmul gam beliba. If somebody made up in his heart to swear a specific shvua, the only way the shvua is going to be chal only if he says it. He spells it, speaks it out. It says he has to utter it with his lips. It says in fact, it says that the shvur cannot be chal only if he utters with his lips. Goma belibay, right, right. But this Baraisa says Goma belibay. If he made up in his heart to make a shvur menayin, how do we know it's still going to be a shvur? You see, faket. So from the Ribelakol we see that even if he made up in his heart, it is a good shvur without saying bisvasayim. Like you so the Baraisa in itself is a stira. You just said he has to utter with his lips. And then you say, oh, what do we know? If he made a decision that it's still going to be a shvur. This is how you have to learn the Braisa. Bisvasayim means not that he was gam belibai to say it with his mouth and then he didn't say it. So in such a case, it's no good. If you made up in your heart, you're going to make a shvur with your lips, you're going to utter it, and you didn't, then it's not a good shvur. But what's if he made up in his heart, he's going to make a shvur, but not to say it with his lips? How do we know that the shvur is chal? That you can, whatever you, that even if he didn't say lechel, even if it was in his heart, only according to Shmuel Zakasha, because Shmuel says that it's not chal if it's belibay. I mean, I've said safe for Shmuel. The Baraisa like this: Bisvasayim Elisha Gam belibay Laitzi Paschit. He said Bisvasayim, but he didn't make up in his heart to spell out, to swear that he's not going to eat Paschitin. The Hoitzi Paschit. He made up that he's going to make a shvua Paschitin, and he spoke out. What did he say? Paschitin. So in such a case, the shvur is not going to be chal. Let's say he said, "I'm making a shvur I'm not going to eat paschiten wheat bread," but he said, "I'm not going to eat," and he forgot to say, "I'm not going to eat bread." He didn't say chitin. Menayin, how do we know it's still going to be good? Adam comes to tell you that even though he didn't say chitin, it's going to be chal, because we go according to the kavanah. We say he asked from Kiddushin that the Dvarim should be lev Dvarim, but here he's Meitzim Vasayim, and if the Dvarim lev is not Seisa, it's Chal. We'll stop over here.